Alright everyone, hello, and welcome on to the live stream. Hopefully you can see my screen okay at this point. We're going to get into the details here in about 2 minutes, but let's just go ahead and make sure everybody's getting on the stream, and that we're over on Pivotal Weather like we should be, and it's looking like we are. But I'm just going to go ahead and set a couple, and yeah, here we go. Let's get into the details here. We're going to head on over to in just a minute as well. So we've got everything you need to know on the upcoming cold air, everything you need to know about the winter storm that's actually going on right now as well. Alright, you should be able to hear me on both of these screens now, and let's head on over to Pivotal Weather, and we're going to go ahead and kind of take a look. Actually, let's go back over here and take a look at what we've had going on throughout the day today. You're taking a look right now at your MRMS radar, which is just your national radar. We've had snow. This was earlier today. As well as this morning time frame, we had snowfall pushing through parts of the Midwest, through parts of the Great Lakes region as well. And as that has done so, that has racked up some accumulation. And you can really see here as I'm going to play the slider out where that heaviest snow has been throughout the day today. It has really focused itself there into parts of southeastern Wisconsin. Okay, so I think our heaviest snow has really come on down into this corridor right here. Chicago, it stayed mainly just north of you there. Hello to you in Indiana there. But yeah, it stayed pretty much just north of you there in Chicago. And now we've got rainfall concerns pushing along parts of the East Coast region. And we've got showers and storms stretching all the way back down to parts of the southeastern coast. Now, the good news for us here with a lot of this, we have not been seeing too much in the way of severe weather out of these storms. We've been watching these down here in South Georgia. In fact, let me turn on composite reflectivity and kind of show you what these cells have been doing this afternoon. Going on down to those storms down there in Georgia, some heavier rain, some gusty winds maybe embedded in some of these showers and storms, but overall a lot of the problem that these storms have run into is the fact that there is very limited energy for them to work with this evening, and that has continued to prove an issue for these storms, and the good news is that they just have not been able to get their act together. Now let's go back on over to future radar here. We're going to time out the rest of the storm, then we'll get into Q&A on our next storm and the rest of those details. Now here we go. Again, monitoring some of those cells all the way down to the bottom end of this line of convective activity here through the evening, but let's go on to the 22Z so we can get at least the next 17 hours of playthrough. Here we go through this evening. Chicago kind of in a little bit of a lull pocket, so to speak. You can see the low pressure system kind of stationed right here. Snow going to break out this evening over parts of northern PA, parts of southwestern New York, but it's really still snowing hard here around Lake Michigan especially, okay? Now let's head back on over and continue playing this on out. Through the night tonight, we're going to notice one very intense wind wrapping back around. We've got high wind alerts here over parts of Kentucky. We're going to see that wraparound flow just take control of this region, cold air wrapping on around. Meanwhile, it's pouring hard, maybe some flooding concerns there through parts of the mid-Atlantic. This is as we head into the overnight hours, 2, 3, 4 a.m. Notice some of these snow showers. These will be accompanied by some very gusty winds as they push on through the Ohio Valley. Wraparound flow continuing here in the Great Lakes. Notice some starting out of some snow there into the interior northeast part of the system. Thanks for the congratulations in the chat. And then continue to see this turn around. Again, notice overnight tonight we've got snowfall in parts of the Ohio Valley. And especially the Great Lakes. The heaviest snow into tomorrow is going to be into parts of Maine, but mostly the system wrapping up tomorrow, and we just kind of see this wind jetting back around the system. Now, in terms of the snowfall that is still to come, we can come on over here to total snowfall from the HRRR. Some additional totals may accumulate over 6 inches of snow. I think that up there into parts of the upper peninsula of Michigan getting a foot of snow still, I think that's just a little bit too much, okay? But in terms of what we're looking at here, this is pretty significant accumulation still to come on top of what's already been around. Remember, we're still dealing with a blizzard concern tonight over this region as well. blizzard conditions possible to break out of this storm. As winds wrap back on around. In fact, let's talk about those wind gusts that are going to be ongoing through the night tonight and causing. We've had those blizzard warnings up over parts of Iowa, especially. Iowa's been the bullseye for those blizzard warnings all along with the system. Now, in terms of our wind gusts for the night tonight, here's what those are looking like. Anything's in the oranges and reds, those are concerning. So as we go towards 2 a.m., here's where our strongest winds are going to be, looking like they're going to be up here into the east coast, especially along the southern New England shoreline. And then we've also got some pushing through the Midwest, jetting on down like so. Okay, this is going to be pretty much the tail end of that system wrapping on around. We see that stronger push of winds like so. And this is going to bring, again, this is why we have high wind concerns for this region. Some 50, 60 mile per hour gusts overnight tonight and into tomorrow morning. I watched those white and pink colors right off the southern New England coastline. In a place like Boston, some of these gusts may pick up. You see these colors in place, upwards of maybe 50 or 60 miles per hour with some of those gusts. Okay, so we'll have to see how this plays out there, but it does look quite breezy. But that's what we've got with this system. Okay, this system, not too much life left in it. It's going to be out of here by the end of the day tomorrow, and attention's going to turn back to the west with our next cold snap, which is going to take control. So let's head on over to Pivotal Weather and kind of give you a look at what we've got with the rundown on that next system. Let's start out here. I want to go over to the GFS model precipitation type and rate, and let's go and play this on out. Again, here's what we've got with this current system. It's been snowing pretty hard here on the northern end of this. We've got rain down here along the southern end of the east coast, but watch what happens here as I continue to play this out. This system is out of here by the end of the day Saturday, with the exclusion of some lake effect snow bands still here into parts of Michigan, Wisconsin as well. A little bit of maybe a clipper pushing through. But what you notice here, you see these kind of tightly packed isobars, all right? And here's what we've got going on. We've got a lot of wind pushing in right along here, and it's coming from the northwest to the southeast. There's a lot of cold air, the jet stream, pretty much like so. Actually, behind this system, the jet stream, a little bit more like this. Okay, this is the polar jet stream, colder air entering the central and north central United States. Now, into next week, we turn our eyes onto the potential for a little bit of a system to get going here over the central plains and southern plains. Now, keep in mind, this is right behind this the last couple of storm systems we've had. There is a lot of cold, dry air in place. But the system coming out of the Pacific Northwest, here we go, let's go back to it. Look, this is going to make some pretty hefty snow totals, even some gusty winds here over the Rockies as we go Saturday night into our Sunday. As this kind of ejects on out into the plains, we get a little bit of a southern snow event to try and get going. And, I'm not going to call this a major snow event, but areas that have not been seeing snow so far this winter, you will get some snow out of this. You can see Oklahoma, Arkansas, northern Mississippi, Tennessee, Kentucky, on over into West Virginia, as well as the western state of Virginia, picking up on some of that snowfall as this event continues. And again, this is as we go Monday afternoon. The southern end of this, we're at least keeping a close watch for some ice to go all the way down maybe towards Tyler, Texas, but definitely through the Dallas area. Notice, again, the system's struggling for moisture. There's a little bit of it attached up here, a little bit of it attached closer to the Gulf and southeast coast. These two are going to try to phase together. This is going to be a struggle, okay, for any sort of combination of these two systems. So I think overall, monitor kind of this region for some light snow, monitor this area for some of the rainfall. This zone right here looking like it could go either way, so we'll have to kind of see how that plays out. But notice, the GFS, originally we were seeing some trends of a nor'easter developing. That's not looking like it's going to happen anymore, and if it does, it is offshore. Okay, so just a lot of things to play in and keep in mind. But overall, it's looking like the best snowfall, as well as just the overall most intense part of this winter event, is going to be right in this area I'm circling now. And we can actually go on over to our Kuchera snowfall ratio here, and we're going to take a look at how much snow the GFS model is predicting. Then we'll do Euro immediately thereafter. Playing the slider out, let's see how much snow. Again, we've still got some snow to come out of the system up there in the Great Lakes. Kind of ignore that. Look at the secondary shield down here. This is that shield the GFS is picking up on. These purple colors indicating anywhere upwards of maybe 4 to 6 inches of snowfall. So we'll have to watch parts of Arkansas, northern Mississippi, on into Tennessee, eastern Kentucky, all these areas. I want you to monitor very closely for some heavier snowfall as we head towards the early part of next week. Let's go on over to the Euro model and see how much snow that is cranking out for that region. At that point, by the way, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel if you have not already and you're just tuning in. I see a lot of new viewers kind of hopping on the live stream at this point. But here we go. There's that snow swath with the Euro. Again, very similar, maybe a little bit lighter, but places all the way from southern Arkansas, northern Mississippi, into Nashville, southern Tennessee, on over to Knoxville, Tennessee, eastern Kentucky, even southern West Virginia. This is an interesting little event for you. So keep your eyes on this system as it pushes on through. Now let's go, actually, I want to take a look at some ensembles and kind of see what they're showing for snowfall. This is going to be, we're going to take a look at the probability of greater than 1 inch of snowfall in 24 hours. Okay, so here we go. We're going to continue to play this model on out. And let's go through with that. Here we go. Look at this. We begin to see some of these colors fill on in. And those greens, there we go. Those reds and purples, those are indicating where we've got at least, 60, 70, 80% chance of an inch of snowfall in 24 hours. I really think our hot spot for the heaviest snow is going to be down here, right here, at this point. Okay, so this is where it's looking like that snow is going to fall the heaviest as we go towards early next week. But this is all associated with a very cold air mass. And let me show you what I mean by cold, because this is some downright chilly air that's going to be developing as we head into next week. So here we go. This is just regular temperatures. We'll focus on wind chills here in just a moment. But playing this out, here we go. Let's just take a look at Sunday morning lows. This is the mean of some models. Okay, this is what you're waking up to. This whole area pretty much essentially below zero. So if you live in northeastern Washington State through Montana, eastern Colorado and Wyoming, the Dakotas, the northern plains, you get the point. A lot of areas here picking up on some very, very cold temperatures, and negative 18 there in southern Nebraska, on down close to 18 in the morning into parts of Dallas, 21 in northwestern Mississippi, 16 in Memphis. Very chilly air in the morning. In the afternoon on that same day, here we go, Sunday afternoon. Look, this is what we warm up to. Maybe into the negative teens here over the northern plains. Right here, this line right here pretty much showing you where you don't even warm up above freezing in the afternoon on Sunday. So this is just kind of the start of that whole thing. And then continuing to play this on out a little bit further for you here. You can see cold air is overall going to be really taken on over as the system moves on through. And notice how this also shifts further southeast. We see colder periods as well into parts of the Great Lakes. But look at this jet stream. I mean, this is as we head towards the end of next week and even onward. This is just some really downright cold air. Just sprinkling on into the country like this. Now, what that makes you wonder is, what are our snow chances looking like beyond next week's early week's little system that we could have move on through? Well, that is a great question that you may be asking. As I play this slider on out, here we go. Again, there's that early week snow next week. Still the chance we could pick up some quick snowfall. I wouldn't anticipate it to be much, but this could include New York City and break you out of a snowfall drought in a place like there. So just monitor that potential. But continue to kind of take a look at what we've got going on here. Let's go beyond this point. And as we make our way towards the end of next week, it looks like something else may sink down here into the same areas that pick up on that first little snow event. Okay, so highlighting in bold this area, this whole zone from the southern and central plains on down into the southeast, even as far south, maybe the second time. If I'm in this zone, I'm keeping an eye out for some snow chances, and maybe if you can't get snow other times this winter, this may be your best shot. But again, this is very cold, dry air simultaneously. We might be getting a little bit of a lag here with the drawings, just so you know. So just keep that in mind. They might be a little bit to the left of where they should be. So just kind of, I'm just going to circle around with my cursor at this point. Okay, I'm watching this on my phone as well. It does seem like where I'm drawing on the screen is a little bit off. So we're just going to I'm going to circle around here with my cursor so you can kind of see what's going on, and hopefully that will work out a little bit better for you. Now let's go and take a look at what we've got going on in the temperature anomaly department, because I want to show you how cold in comparison to average these temperatures really are going to be, because this is an excruciating cold blast. Okay, here we go. Look at that chill just settling on in. First of all, as we go into the start of next week, negative 30, minus 40 degrees below normal for this time of the year. And those are pretty much going to be temperatures too, negative 30, negative 40 back over there over the northwestern plains. As we go into next week, the cold sinks southward a little bit. So this is going to include all the way from Minnesota and Wisconsin all the way back down to the Gulf Coast. In the southeast, about 15 to 30 degrees below normal for this time of the year. Again, you can see the timestamp on the top left side of your screen. That is where we're looking at. Those temperatures being 15, 25, 30 degrees below normal as we head towards midweek of next week. That's kind of with that first little system, but look at how we get reinforcements. It's looking like a secondary shot of this will help to keep everything kind of lingering around reinforced as we make our way towards next weekend. So Saturday late into our Sunday morning of our next weekend. So this is as we go the 20th to the 21st of January. That is some really darn cold air settling on in over the southeastern part of the country and continuing there. Maybe eventually, I do think the model trends would show at least this neutralizing or even warming up compared to average towards the very end of January. But this is a pretty prolonged event. I mean, we're talking right now, we're the 12th, and you see that those blues all in the southeast all the way until about the 24th. So some very chilly air really taking hold. And then last thing I want to look at, and then we'll take any questions. Of course, start putting your questions in the chat now as well. Here's your GEFS. This is your ensemble. Here's your snowfall. I'm continuing again. Notice some of the snowfall there into parts of the Northeast. I don't know if this is going to really pan out, but it does show some 2 to 4 inch totals there closer to New York City. It does show, again, that stripe of snow down through parts of the Mid-South and into Appalachia. We need to watch all of this. I'll be posting occasional videos, of course, as we get closer to give you those updates in the evenings. But it does look like, these models at least showing the potential for snow to try and make their way all the way on down to the Gulf Coast. So we'll see how that pans out. But now let's go back on over. I'm gaining a lot of new viewers here. So we're going to just kind of run through the Euro model's whole scenario here with this upcoming snowy system as well. Again, earlier in the live, if you want to rewind, I talked about what's going on right now with our current winter storm. But I'm kind of focusing this one on talking a little bit about what's on the way next as well, to kind of give you that future look. All right, again, playing this out. Here we go. We've got the slider on up. Into early next week. This is what's really interesting. Notice we've got some snow falling into southeast Oklahoma, southern Arkansas, northern Mississippi, parts of Tennessee. This looks to be a pretty light to moderate event at this point with the models, but this is uninterrupted, decent snowfall, okay? This is decent snowfall coming on down. 80 degrees here in central Florida. Yeah, wow. By the way, hit that like button to everyone who's just joining, as well as hit that subscribe button. But ice through Dallas, through Shreveport, Louisiana, that is a really interesting system. But you don't notice deep blues, any sort of major system developing. This is, again, it's operating in dry air. But again, look at the timestamp on the top left. This is early next week on Monday, so your Martin Luther King Jr. Day. Northern Mississippi, into parts of northern Alabama as well. So this is all something to monitor. And again, the Euro picks this up. This is very light precip, but it does pick up a little bit of a nor'easter-like system there into New York, Vermont. And actually, since the energy closer to the system is going to be into the Atlantic, maybe some of that snowfall impacting southern New England shores as well. And this could include maybe even New York City. Now, one thing that I really want to point out to everyone here that's watching, this is what we're looking at here is a very cold air mass in place. I don't think that's going to be the problem. I think it's just going to be how much dry air is also in place, kind of prohibiting some of the heaviest of snowfall. But if you live in eastern Oklahoma, Arkansas, on into Tennessee, I do really think that this is going to be a pretty considerable and notable snow event as colder air sinks on down. Now, with the Euro model, let's go on over and show you that wind chill. Okay, this is how cold do an interstate and highway travel update site. I would go onto one of those sites, but I don't know if I should, just in case, like a webcam or something's copyrighted, I don't know if I should use that. But back to those wind chills here in the parts of the country. Look at what we've got going on with this cold air. This is as we go. This is in the afternoon, Sunday. -20, -30, -40 degree readings over the north central United States. This is spilling out of Montana into parts of the north central plains as well as the Great Lakes here. This is just some downright cold air, everyone. There's no such thing as bundling up in this. You're still going to get cold quickly out here. As a truck driver. Colder air over this area. I'll address your comment in just a minute. -20, -30, -40 for those wind chills as we make our way towards our Sunday afternoon. Here we go, continuing to play this on out. Look at these wind chills Sunday night going into our Martin Luther King Day. -40 there into South and North Dakota. Iowa, Chicago, it's going to be -30 for your wind chill on Monday morning. This is not the kind of cold where you can go outside and get away with wearing a jacket. No, we're talking you just need to be inside if you can during this. And then notice all the way on down to the Gulf Coast here, the southeast, the immediate east coast. We've got very cold air sinking on down. So just watch these cold temperatures continuously. And that jet stream continues. Look, some of these cold readings, these are 10, 15, 20 degree wind chills middle of next week, all the way down to the Gulf Coast behind that little snow event that moves through Arkansas and Tennessee. Wow, no, this is some cold air. And again, I don't really advise being outside in any of this. But of course, if you have to, you're going to need to put on as many layers as possible as you're out in this. Another thing that we could get out of these systems is a little bit of rainfall. I don't really anticipate much. This is our total rainfall through, so this is for the entirety of next week, okay? Monday through Saturday. This is our rainfall, not much. Those blues that you see showing up through northern Mississippi on over into Tennessee, Kentucky, Appalachia, that's actually falling as snowfall in that region. But again, another thing you notice here, I want to go back to the Euro model. Late next week, we'll have to monitor a system as well. So again, the current one departs. As we go early next week, there's that snow event eastern Oklahoma all the way through Tennessee. That maybe goes up Appalachia. We'll have to watch for potential weaker nor'easter. And then going back onto models here, late next week as well, we might see something interesting, kind of a sneaky storm come on down and ride the jet stream. And again, this would be what reinforces that cold air another time. As you can see, those tightly packed black lines, those tightly packed ISO bars coming in behind that. Also notice a 1045 millibar. That is pretty much a Arctic high settling in over Kansas at this point. So let's go over to forecast climate prediction center outlooks. Here's your 6 to 10 day temperature outlook. I don't know how well this is going to show up on the screen, but this is some extreme cold air. And notice where the anomalies are going to be most prominent as we go Thursday the 18th through Monday the 22nd. It's going to be over the southeast especially. In fact, the west is well above average there into California, Oregon, Nevada, as well as Arizona. But this cold air, remember in the southeast, this brings temperatures well below average. But just being a little bit below average for this time of the year, even in the north central plains, the northeast, that still brings you into negative territory in some cases. So just keep all of that kind of in your head here over this area. And then going back on over to the models one last time. Again, here's that GFS picture. A lot of dry air in place behind all these systems, and I think that's really what's going to kind of disturb your chances for some of that, for some of the worst or the heaviest snowfall even in the south. Again, we will have snow events sinking south. You can clearly see that going all the way on down into Oklahoma, Arkansas, Tennessee. But notice they're light, they're brief, and then the heavier rain is closer to the Gulf Coast. And then look at high pressure that will linger around a lot. With El Nino normally bringing up that southern jet stream, I wouldn't be shocked if we could get an additional system or two to kind of play into this colder air. But as of now, your summary kind of brings a lighter snow event as we head. Here we go, Martin Luther King Day. From eastern Oklahoma and northern Texas through Tennessee into Appalachia, we'll have to be monitoring snowfall potentially there. Maybe some light snowfall up the east coast, maybe even going as far south as the Carolinas. That system moves out. Then late next week, another one is possible. But again, the phasing of two jet streams is really going to be important here. I think the polar jet is going to be sinking so far south that a lot of that interaction's just not really happening. And there's a lot of just cold air dominating the country again. I think that's going to be what causes your problem for getting snowfall. Now, if I have any questions, let's get those in the chat now, as we kind of overall head towards the end of the stream at this point. Going back on over. By the way, today's severe weather threat looks like this at this point. Pretty much a bust over the southeastern United States. This has been, good for everyone. I'm worried about severe weather. We've only had a couple of warnings. A lot of what we had earlier today was some wind reports into parts of Mississippi, northern Mississippi. So the Storm Prediction Center did a good job kind of correcting the outlooks here as we got closer, and what ended up really putting a damper on this outlook there into the southeast was the limited CAPE values, which is convective available potential energy. We just did not get enough storm fuel in place to really see a severe weather outbreak today over that region. Let's go back to radar Omega here. Here's what we're looking at again, kind of looking back at tonight. Low pressure system is going to kind of just sit over here over the Great Lakes. Winds wrapping around like this, like that. We are watching the winds here through parts of the Midwest tonight. Alright, let's head back over to Pivotal Weather. Always love that site, by the way. Recommend you check it out. Again, here are those warnings we still have ongoing this evening. Blizzard alerts. I don't know how well these are showing up on your screen. Blizzard alerts into parts of the Midwest and the Great Lakes. We've got high wind alerts. How cold will it get this weekend here? You are in Indiana. Let's get you the answer to that question. In fact, good news is that I'm already getting on the Midwest right now. All right, here we go. Let's go on over to our temperatures, and I'm going to take a look at the wind chill for you. Here we go. Play this out a little further. Look at some of these cold temperatures in Indiana. I think some of the coldest wind chills that we get look like they're going to happen as we head towards the end of this weekend. Yep, end of this weekend is going to be your coldest wind chills, and those are going to be negative 20 to 24. So negative 20, negative 24 for wind chills. That's your coldest that we're going to get as we go through this weekend. Let's go to the 12Z run. I want to kind of see what that shows further down the line. So again, there's that coldest stretch. This is as we go. So Sunday morning is going to be your cold one. I call it your cold one. It's cold consistently. It's going to be hard to get into positive territory in the Midwest, to be honest with you. And let's just go day by day. Sunday afternoon, we cannot get into above zero here into Indiana. It stays like that as we go into next week, and it's going to be hard for us to get above zero. That's just how it is. And then as we go towards the end of next week, again, there's that reinforcement with that kind of weaker system that tries to get going later next week that we have to keep a watch on. 20, 30 degrees below average, or below zero over this region, and it's well below average as well, probably 20, 30 degrees below normal for this time of the year. Again, wind tonight over Indiana, by the way, while I'm talking about you. Some gusts upwards of 40, 50 miles an hour tonight, and as these colder blasts move on through, could see some winds upwards of 30 miles per hour as well. So that's what I've got here for this. If I have any other questions, drop those before we end the stream. But I can see the viewer count beginning to decrease as well. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. And of course, this is kind of what we're looking at through the Midwest. But yeah, anyone old enough to remember snow skiing in the Carolinas and Northeast Georgia, that sounds like fun. Not getting much snow down there right so far, though. And into parts of North Georgia, upstate South Carolina, all those areas, not really getting much snow so far. So we'll just kind of have to watch and see how this plays out. Maybe some snow sinking down that far, but right now, It's looking like snow's going to stay confined to Tennessee as well as North Carolina northward. I might lose power. Yeah, with those wind gusts tonight, I wouldn't be shocked if you did. 40, 50 miles an hour in Indiana, that's no joke. Maybe knock down some tree limbs, cause power outage issues. How about between Colorado Springs and Salina, Kansas? For what time in Colorado Springs and Salina are we talking about? And for in terms of weather between Colorado Springs and Salina, snowfall is going to be fairly limited here. Maybe some lighter snowfall pushing on through as we go through this weekend. Notice that kind of continues into early next week. Some lighter bouts of snow pushing on through. Looking at wind gusts over that area. Let's play this slider out. Wind gusts are going to be upwards of 30 miles per hour at times through Colorado Springs to that area. Doesn't look too bad. And then heading on over to wind chill. This is probably when it's going to be your problem. Now through the 20th. Yeah, Colorado Springs to Salina. Here we go. Let's look at those temperatures over that region because this is where it's going to get really cold. In fact, I can probably zoom in on that area. Yep, let's go to the central U.S. Here we go. We can look much closer on that. Wind chills negative 20 to negative 10. Wow. Look at these wind chills Sunday morning. Parts of Kansas, 20, 30 degrees below normal. Eastern Colorado, 10, 15 degrees below normal. Up there into parts of the South Dakota, Iowa region, 40, 45 below. I keep saying normal. This is temperatures. So negative 20, sorry, negative 20 in eastern Colorado, negative 20 in Nebraska. This continues. With the wind chill, we get a little bit of a rebound, and then we see a relapse, especially in Kansas late next week. This is as we go into the 19th and 20th, eastern Kansas especially, getting quite cold. You're welcome. And yeah, that's kind of what we're looking at there. Very, very cold air in place. And yes, pretty much 30, 40 degrees below average as well. It's funny that the anomalies kind of correlate with our temperatures, although it's not really funny because it's pretty serious to have temperatures this cold over the United States. Again, you see that colder that's up in Canada, that just continues pushing down. And this just looks like it's lingering around for a while. I do think our rebound begins probably, if we're going to have a rebound from this, which I do think we, of course, eventually will in January here, I think the rebound from this kind of temperature level is going to begin to happen probably in the 10 to 14 day range. I think it's going to take a little while for that to kind of happen. But yeah, that's kind of all I got for you here. So that's going to be it with this live stream unless I get other questions dropped in the chat. I enjoyed having everybody on here. Great turnout in this stream. And maybe we'll do another one soon. But that's it for this one. Thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in. Hope I got you updated on the latest information. And that's everything. Have a good one, everyone. Don't forget to subscribe.